Right. Good morning. Sorry, I'm a minute or two behind here. Brett, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Do you like my background? It's so
Very aesthetic.
Yeah, right.
Very on point for today.
All righty. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, good morning, everybody. We are live here. So good morning. Hope you're having a great start to the week. Going over, just diving right in here. Hey, it's March 15th. As we know, mask mandates have been lifted by the province. So officially the policy at the office is masks are optional. So if you have, again, you yourself or staff or anybody coming into the office, masks are optional. If you want to wear them, wear them. If you don't want to wear them, don't wear them. And again, I think the biggest thing with this is let's just really, use love and respect for everybody and respect each other's personal choices. You never know where the other person's coming from, what's going on with themselves, their own personal health, family's health, etc. So let's just love and respect everyone and their decisions on whether to mask up or not. And yeah, as we kind of go forward with these new mandates that have been lifted. Well, just on that note, I'll probably send out some further communication, but there is, you probably saw at the board, they opened up showings, kind of the way it used to be. You can kind of request however long of a showing you want. You can allow double bookings as a listing agent, all those types of things. So make sure you have those conversations, listing agents, with your sellers to see what their expectations are and what they want, right? If you have a seller who's really concerned, which is their right to do so, and they want to limit the amount of people in a home, respect that wish. Have conversations with them, and you as a listing agent and the seller can control how you want to have showings throughout, how you want to conduct showings for the listing. And if you're on the buying side and you want to request your own private viewing and have no one else, no double bookings allowed, you have the freedom to request that, right? At the same time, the seller and the listing agent have the freedom to reject such a request, right? And so I know that's been a lot of our listing agents and sellers have requested that, hey, they would rather leave the house for a couple hours rather than all day because of how showings are arranged. So just, again, the important thing is to respect each other's decisions and to make sure you have those conversations with your buyers and your sellers. Another question that came up to me just before the meeting was about if you have a buyer or a seller who actually tests positive for COVID, because now the mandates for isolation are lifted. People aren't mandated to isolate, they're just recommended to isolate. So this is where we get into the world of, and this is where the government is moving towards a regime of recommendations and not mandates. So similarly, the Manitoba Real Estate Association has put out recommendations on showing protocols, which looks very similar to how it used to be. So in this regard, again, I don't have any slides on this because it kind of just came up. If you have a client who's tested positive, recommended guidelines according to Manitoba Health are to isolate if you don't have symptoms for 5 days. So it's going to be relatively, I'd imagine, a business decision whether you want to come into close contact with somebody who's tested positive for COVID. I recommend not, but again, business decision. But as far as going into other people's homes, again, Manitoba Real Estate Association has advised to still use protocol guidelines with declarations, et cetera. That's their recommendations. But as well, if you have a listing and you're going into a listing and it says on there must follow the COVID-19 health guidelines, then no, you cannot bring that person, a positive buyer, into that home. Right. And so anyways, I know there's a bunch of moving parts here, but we're in the world of recommendations right now, not mandates. So you have to do what's prudent, do what's smart, and follow, to the best of your abilities, the recommendations that are put for us. But again, if anyone has any questions, I'll probably have some more further communications as we go forward with this stuff. But let's put it this way, I wouldn't recommend bringing COVID-19 positive people into other homes, and for your safety and as well as others. But I would say that wouldn't be in the world of great business, I would call it. if anybody has any questions, please feel free. But that's where we're at right now with COVID. Switching gears to some of the training, we got lots of cool training and stuff like that coming up here for the spring market. So you can see a roll-up page. The Learning Services is putting on a couple different webinars. Get more listings in 2022. That's probably of interest, right? That's on March 17th, which is Thursday at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock Central Time, right? 50 minutes. You can go to rollpagenetwork.com/training. It's basically that's logging in and go to the training tab, Learning Services or webinars, and you can find it there. As well, March 17th, so at 1:30 at Henderson at the Learning Center. Everything you need to know about starting or joining a team. This is with me. This is in response to the most frequently asked question that we get as brokers is about either, do I join a team? Do I start a team? What is even a team? We're going to take it from A to Z, front to back, cover to cover. We're going to cover all aspects of teams, what it means. And again, we're getting into some of the money, the splits, all different kinds of things. So you're going to actually know everything that you could possibly know about joining a team. So whether you either decide to start one or join one or not join one or not start one, you're going to know exactly why you're doing it. All right. So please RSVP to Cassandra. You can email her there at cassandra@rollpage.ca. As you know, there is capacity limits, but I think we're looking good right now. So anyways, RSVP to Cassandra though, Thursday, 1:30. Another one coming up, a webinar from Richard Robbins and Chris Cummins. Staying ahead of the real estate curve. This is again a free training that's on through Richard Robbins. The link is in the agenda to register, or you can go to richardrobbins.com and register directly through the site. And they're going to be navigating again the biggest what if real estate questions that come into this market. What if the market changes, interest rates rise, sales drop? What are the possible outcomes that this market can bring this year? How to eliminate complexity in your lead and marketing systems, and how to build an unshakable mindset. Courage, confidence, and joy. Yeah, I need some of those too, right? So anyways, check that one out, March 30th at 1 Eastern, which is 12 Central. Last but not least, April 6th, book your calendars for this one. Jason Pantana is an amazing marketing genius. Again, he is working with Tom Ferry International. If you actually heard this guy speak, watch him his videos, he sounds just like Tom Ferry. He mimics his voice intonation, and he's a great speaker. So anyways, we have him as exclusive to prime agents and other select brokers across the country on April 6th from 12 to 3. Smart Marketing Made Easy. Again, make sure you check this one out. It's going to be some really great stuff there. You can see here, just a quick thing. I think Cass is going to put out some stuff on Facebook as well. But if you have a broken award, or if you want, this one we didn't, this was a 2020 award. You can see that we made, many of you got them last year. If some people have been asking like, hey, can I actually get one of these anyways? If you would like to order one, you can order one. I think they're around $100, give or take. Cass, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I think it's give or take $100. So if you want one of those, you can order through Cass, and we'll kind of put a bulk order together through Contempra. There's ones who kind of made those things. And then as far as the board awards go, if you got a broken award, we're sending a bunch in to get replaced. And so again, roughly depending on how bad it's broken, $20 a pop if you want yours replaced. So you can, in either one of those things, if you have physical award problems, you can talk to Cassandra and she'll put in an order for you. And on that note, the new board awards should be coming out this week. I believe they're shipping out to the different brokerages this week. So when we get them, we will let you know. Oops. Okay. We have a new offer in PDS. I'm not going to spend an exorbitant amount of time on this because it'll make everyone's eyes bleed and fall out of their skulls. So, but you need to know this stuff, right? We do not want RESA Part 2. Okay, we do not want RESA Part 2. We do not want things to come out and have agents and brokers say, what the heck, no one told me, all that kind of stuff. So that is why I am telling you, there is a new offer and a new PDS that's going to be coming out most likely next year, 2023 in the first quarter. That's my guess on the timelines, because I'm on a task force that is supposed to help with this rollout and things like that. So that has been the theme of the task force so far in the one meeting is, let's not do RESA again. Let's learn from their mistakes and how they rolled it out. Let's do this thing right. So feedback is required by Manitoba Securities Commission. So I got just for a little technicality stuff here. This is a mandate by Manitoba Securities Commission again, right? So we all know Securities Commission, how much I love them and how much you all love them with their wonderful display of competence. Nonetheless, this is a mandate through Manitoba Securities Commission, and then they delegate to Maria to do feedback stuff, to roll out things, to get feedback from members. So it's MSC's call. They filter through Maria, and now we get stuff through the MREA. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just go over a few things with the new offer here, so you guys can kind of see it. And if you have anything that's outraging, you please write in. So this is here. This is again a big document, that's why I'm not going to go over too much. But there's a summary of major changes. So the first thing that's going to be changing is the complete format of the offer is going to be completely different. It's going to look completely different than what you're used to. You're going to have to relearn everything you know about how to write offers, unfortunately, because they want to, again, this is not my decision, but they wanted to make it completely different than the current offer. I really don't like that, but some of those things are in motion that I can't change. Nonetheless, there's going to be two parts of the offer. One of them is going to be the details of the transaction. And then basically part two is going to be all the terms and conditions. So right now, how you have an offer, it's kind of like you have terms and conditions and standard things all kind of mixed in. They're basically going to have, here's what you need to write. Here's all here's the details of the transaction. And then here's a second part, and I'll show you this, is all the different terms and mutual promises to each other, right? So kind of separated into two parts. I'll say, in summarizing some of these points, there's a bigger shift to the onus being on the seller. Right now, the contracts are extremely caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware. There's no representations or warranties by the seller, those kind of things. This is shifting a little bit towards a more balanced approach. Some may argue too much in favor of the buyer now, but anyways, the approach is shifting from favoring the sellers to favoring the buyers, where there's more onus on a seller to disclose things and make representations and warranties. So there is a bit of a change there. And I'll go into some detail with that. So nonetheless, there's some things about deposits, electronic fund deposits, which is nice to have that. We're changing some things here. I'm pushing back on. Just looking here. This is one that is of somewhat of a concern. Actually, I encourage you guys to read this stuff, but they're talking about a fixed target time for completion of the transaction. So there's no more 9 a.m. possessions. Like everything is the date till 5 o'clock. I don't know exactly why they're doing that. But again, this is something you might want to take a closer read on. I'm going to talk to some lawyers as well to see the implications of this, especially when you have some movers booked for 10 o'clock, but they have this 5 o'clock fixed time for possession. So I don't know how they're going to really do that. That's a whole other thing. Some of the other big ones on here, I'm going to point out, looking through the chat here. I'm breaking up. Kristen asked, is there a reason they specifically picked 5? End of day is the only thing I can guess. That's one we haven't got to as a task force yet. Just to let you know, that one I have to look at. Also, the PDS has changed. So I'm just going to show you quickly. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the points. I want you guys to read this for yourself as well and to have your own thoughts. This is what, and I'll say, I encourage you to also, you can email in right here, to realestate.gov.mbca, any of your thoughts. And I encourage you to talk about how poorly constructed this offer is, because it looks like it was made in, WordPerfect 97. But anyways, this is what their potential format is looking like. They thought this was good. You can see here, this is the brokerage obligation. So the first page is all about who's representing who and any disclosures that are required on this one page. I don't mind the thought behind it, but I think it looks pretty ugly. Second one here is the actual offer. Yes, Jayesh, no, Jayesh, it's not a joke. This is why we need you to write in on these things. Anyway, submission of offer from the buyer to the seller. This is, name of buyer, name of seller right up here, the property, all that kind of stuff. Included chattels. Yes, there's not enough space for chattels and fixtures. We've mentioned that. I encourage you to do the same, because the louder the voices are, I can only yell so loud, right? From a keyboard, I can only yell so loud at a meeting. The more people yelling, the better. Possession date is there, purchase price. This is one I will say I encourage you guys to write in on as well. I think this is a mistake that there's no part here for just showing the down payment, right? I asked this to the task force, and the logic behind it was, oh, well, everyone writes cash and mortgage, a mixture of cash and mortgage anyway, so they don't need it. That's ridiculous. As a seller, I want to see, as a listing agent, the strength of the buyer. I want to know how much money there is. I can't go get a car without having to give them my entire financial records and corporate statements and all that kind of stuff and pull credit checks. And these guys are trying to buy a house from me. And I don't even know what their down payment is. I don't even know how much money they have. I think it's ridiculous. As a seller, I'd want to know, is this going to be insured mortgage? Is this going to be required an appraisal? Is this 50% down? What's the likelihood of this thing actually going through with their financing condition? I think it should be on there. Personal thoughts. If anybody's against it, no problem. But if you are joining me, write the email. Deposits are here. That's all pretty self-explanatory. The PDS is going to be pretty similar, right? It's either there is a PDS, I need one, or there isn't one, right? For what we're used to. Buyer's conditions. You can see here there's a couple differences, right? The financing, there's no longer asking for the terms, right? So like the term, the interest rate, all that kind of stuff. It basically is just we get an approval for the approximate amount of blank, right? So I find approximate. I don't like vagueness and all that kind of stuff, so I've complained about that one. But nonetheless, if the finance condition is a bit more open-ended, here it is: get an approval for approximately this much money. Similarly, the wording of the home inspection, right? A lot of this stuff at the inspector of the by an inspector chosen by the buyer at the expense of the buyer. Some of that stuff has been reworded here. Again, I can't say I love it, but the buyer obtains and approves an independent property condition inspection report, right? So anyways, again, approves. So it's going to be in the similar line of still you have to approve it. It's kind of like the satisfaction thing. They just change the words. So I don't think there's a whole lot of change there, but just letting you know, other conditions are specified there. Seller's conditions are there, right? Then they get into title encumbrances, right? Representations and warranties, right? So this is where it gets a little confusing, because right now you'll see here, basically instead of going and striking out things on the offer, they're going to ask you to read in section 9 of part 2 of the offer, and then if there's any changes to that section, you're going to write them in here, right? Same thing with this one. If there's changes in section 9 part 2 of this contract, you have to add it in here. I find this a little clumsy. I'd rather just stroke out a clause, but I don't like it. But this is where they're trying to get rid of stroking out and things like that and actually writing it in here. So I could say pros and cons. Anyways, I know I'm going fast here, but that's okay. Additional terms, right? You can hear ABC, right? Additional schedules, what else is attached? Submission of the offer, there's the dates, deadline for acceptances, right? And then there's a separate entire form for the seller's response to the offer, right? This is where they check off homestead issues. They talk about residency, which I think is good that they're promising residency or not, because you have to ask those questions because it affects the buyer for the Income Tax Act. So they check off residency, they check off, and then they put in the commission part here, and the seller's acceptance, whether they accept it, reject it, or have a counter is there. So they have a whole separate spot, right? And then they go down to buyer's response to the counter offer, and then away you go, right? If they accept the counter offer or they reject the counter offer, there you go. And receiving cash, conveyancing information, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, all righty. So this is where, again, I encourage you guys to read this stuff. Again, this is your business. This is your industry. It's not just the broker's job to read this stuff. You're a professional, right? So you should probably know the contracts in which you work with all the time. I think poor grammar, good point. So these are some of the interesting ones here. This is an interesting one. Again, I can't give you too much information on this one, but possession dates, occupancy, and closing. Again, the buyer and seller shall have until 5 o'clock on possession day to complete and close the transaction, subject to the approval of trust conditions and same between the lawyers, right? So they have this 5 o'clock to complete the day, so it's not like 9 o'clock. If they didn't, hey, keys aren't there by 9, they have until the end of the day basically to close the transaction. The problem is once you're, and somebody says, yes, 4 pages to 14. Yes, this is going to be a lot of paper. This is why also we're moving towards electronic, but yeah, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Here's a couple interesting ones. Where did it go? If the buyer's late, right? If the mortgage funds are late, they have to, they get 7 days bonus kind of thing, plus, but they have to pay interest to the seller. That's an interesting one. Buyer shall pay seller's costs, being provable of financial losses incurred by the seller as a result of the delay. So this is if there's these, possession delays, which do happen. It's like, oh, shoot, it's Friday. I don't have the money. I need until Tuesday. Can you back it up a little bit? They actually have some of these things built in. If it's delayed, you're going to get 7 days kind of to back it up, but you're going to be paying expenses to the seller, right? And you get a lien on it and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, you know, that they can actually have possession, but they can't fix the house and they still have to pay for all these wonderful things. So I don't mind some of that stuff. Here's an interesting one though, I want to point out. All right, so these are conditions generally. This is a big one. At the request of the other party, the party benefiting from the condition shall provide the other party with a written explanation and available supporting documentation as to the reasons after making an honest effort the condition was not fulfilled. So what they're trying to get away with, what they're trying to solve here is, oh, I need my financing condition. Oh yeah, right now it's like, well, give me the letter, prove it. And you have this back and forth. I'm not giving the deposit back, etc. So what they're saying is here is they're actually going to put it into the contract that if I smell something's awry, something's fishy with your thing, I can request written explanation and supporting documentation as to why you backed out of the offer. The problem with this, and this is what I've contested at the task force, is, hey, financing condition, I get it. But what about the home inspection condition? What about the PDS? You know, if you go back to the wording of the home inspection condition, right? Oops, sorry, I have to go all the way back up here. Lord, look at all these pages, Angie. I'm sure you'll love it. Right? The buyer obtains and approves an independent property condition inspection report. So what if I get the report? Does this just mean I have to supply the report? Or do I actually have to say, oh no, I didn't like the report because I didn't approve it because the doorknobs were loose or there was a squeaky door? You know, is the home inspection still kind of this get out of jail free card? I don't know, but this is of concern to me. I want like some specificity as to what, you know, does it just have to provide a report? What if the home inspector's Uncle Bob and there is no written report now? It kind of doesn't answer. So this is, I think, a very, very large clause that they did not give a lot of thought to. So I think you really, again, if you're going to write in and whine, I would definitely look at this and ask for some more specification here as far as where are we? Sorry. Yeah, conditions here, E, right? I got a question coming in. Oh, anyways, going on, there's a whole bunch more, again, seller representations and warranties, right? So again, this is really, this is a big change, right? They're usually, what was the previous representations and warranties? Yeah, there's nothing encroaching, nothing encroaching on my property, nobody encroaching onto them. You know, there's no rental contracts and it applies to zoning, right? Now you have a whole bunch more representations for the seller. I'm trying to think which one was of interest to me. They actually have the working order clause written in. Okay. So unless otherwise disclosed, which includes the PDS, any fixtures and channels that have electrical, mechanical, plumbing, heating, or air exchange or conditioning components shall be in proper working order. So it's written into the contract. So again, let's just pretend you want to get rid of that, right? We're not striking out clause F here. We actually have to go back to part 1 of the offer and write in section F to be removed. Okay. Anyways, we're not going to get into the technical parts of it because that will be plenty of training coming up in 2023 for that. Right, a whole bunch of additional terms here. It is, you know, again, this contract is becoming very, very lengthy, right? You can see here, yada, yada, yada. These are just further notes on what we've already discussed about the responses, seller's acceptances. As well, this is what's always nice is acceptance. I like this is communicated again to the broker's representative. So if you communicate it back to the agent, the sellers are agreeing, hey, if you told my agent it's accepted, right? So no more of this, well, you didn't tell me and I didn't get the text message and all that kind of stuff. So again, there are some really good things, but there are some concerns. So what the whole point of this to tell you is you got some reading to do. Okay. And then there's a whole condo one here, which I'm not going to get into right now. But you got some reading to do. This is something, again, April 30th is a deadline for submissions. I'll probably put some other ones together for you guys so you can kind of see it. And if you agree with it, I encourage you to write in. But again, this is your job. This is your role. This is your profession, right? It's not just mine. It's yours too. So take the time, read through some of the stuff. If you have any questions, happy to talk about it. And again, if you have concerns, please let them know. Don't let RISA Part 2 happen. Where do you find this link? It was sent out by the MREA. I think I put the link in the agenda as well. Your package, this is from my task force, so it'll look a little differently, but it is in the, I'll share it on our hub again. Okay, I'll put it that way, but it's from Maria. There's a consultation email that went out. All right, any more questions on the new offer? Again, moral of the story, read it. Don't let RISA Part 2 happen. If you don't like something, tell somebody. All right. Bum, 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 bum. And again, my guess is 2023 for that to come out. Just an FYI. Okay, switching gears here. Just a quick little recap. We've been on a branding kick the last few weeks. And so, again, quick recap. We talked about what a brand is. We talked about it. Our favorite definition, or mine anyways, is about a person's gut feeling about a product, service, organization. What's that lingering taste about, the gut feeling about somebody or a company, right? We talked about branding is actually a process of trying to shape the mind of your customer. What do you want them to think about you? Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's my voice and messaging so that you think about me what I want you to think about me, right? And every point of contact, are you supporting our efforts to be known as what, right? Whether it's extremely professional, this local area expert, or the laughable, lovable realtor, whatever it is that you want to be known as, you have to make sure that every point of contact, your branding is in place. And so that is where I've asked Brittany to come in and help us with actually putting the visual elements to this, right? So let's say hey, I know my why, I know my brand, I know how I want to be perceived in the market. Now, how do I actually go about doing this, and how do I make it look like that? And so that's why I've asked Brittany to come in as our resident branding expert. And she is going to take over the screen from here. Brittany, do you have screen sharing capabilities? I believe I gave you permission. If not,
I don't.
Okay, sorry. I will fix that right now. All panels. There we go. Okay. You should be able to do that now, and Brittany will take over from here.
Okay, good to go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
You guys are good?
Very good.
Okay. Okay, so Michael and I had talked a couple weeks ago about how to put a segue on some of the things that you guys have been learning about in some of the Ignite meetings with branding and things like that. So you guys have covered kind of what's your voice, what's your tone. And so some of the things that we're going to kind of segue onto today are going to be how to apply that. And this is a program that everybody, knows and loves. I use it a lot. I know a lot of agents use it as well. So before we get started, I'd love to just to know, hang on one second, I'll full screen.
Okay, you saw that. I was just going to say JHS to full screen.
I'd love to just see who uses the paid version and who uses the free version. So there's a few different options. And I say this to a lot of new agents that are coming on that have a little bit of a smaller marketing budget. The free program is absolutely great. And once you kind of, use it and familiarize yourself with it, there's a lot more tools that you can use with the pro version. So a lot of the things that I'm going to be covering today are included with the pro version, but I will circle back and just reference some of the things that you can use in the free one. So this is the agenda. So we're going to do a brief software tour for new users. I'm going to show you guys how to add a brand kit into Canva for Canva Pro. And I'll talk a little bit about what a brand kit entails, and it'll show you a whole template. So no worries there. We're going to build templates, and we're going to talk about maximizing social platforms through resizing. That's another really great tool that's used through Pro as well. What to do versus what not to do, repurposing content, and then finally content calendar. So we're kind of talking about building all the way through to export and applying it to your social channels or things that, would include print marketing or things of that nature. So I'm going to run through this presentation here, and then I'm going to click over to Canva, and then we'll start playing around in there. So like I had mentioned, it's a great free version as well. It has a paid version of their program. Both of them are loaded with elements and design tools that are easy to use for beginners and experts. So The great thing about this program is it's pretty intuitive. So it's not like using any Adobe suites. I know some of our agents use those, some just won't even bother because it is quite complicated. But what I do love about Canva, it's almost instantly creates supporting functions that help you guys use them in that medium. And an example of that would be Instagram Reels. So when Instagram introduced Instagram Reels, Canva almost instantly created templates and functions to support that section in Instagram. And same thing with TikTok. You can add YouTube artwork as well. So we'll go over all of that. But yeah, so I guess if you had the question that would be like, well, I want to use it for a couple different things, the answer would be it supports almost every single social platform. So I'm going to go over just a couple of general housekeeping things that I like to make note of before you guys start using Canva. So folders. So it's very easy to litter your all design section in Canva. So I like to try to categorize things accordingly. So some of the things that you can use and try to keep yourself organized is social media templates or your print marketing, those kinds of things. I talked about resizing. We'll talk about uploads as well, and I'll give you an example on how you can upload things easily into Canva rather than, you know, filtering through all of your files on your hard systems, on your laptops or your desktop, and then as well as a content calendar. So one of the things I'm going to talk about today is batch content. So when you're sitting down and you want to block off an hour or two of your time to dedicate towards your branding, you can batch your content. And I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks on how to do that. And then you can just set it and forget it. And then you can, you know, if you want to do that weekly, you've blocked off a certain amount of time and you have your content for the whole week. So that's something I'll be going over as well. And when we're doing our template setup and we're building those out, we're going to be talking about your brand and what to do versus what not to do. We're going to talk about applying fonts and colors correctly in terms of like primary and secondary elements. So I'll get into that and show you guys lots of examples as well. Text effects and editing images. So, and then this is just a sample of what the content calendar looks like. And once I kind of click over, we'll give you an actual like tutorial on how to use that. And then exporting. So this is also a really great function as well. So you can create anything, you can resize it, and you can export it. There's a couple different ones that I didn't cover today, just because they're a little bit more on the expert side. And I'm going to start, you know, on just at the basic level. I think will be a good place to start for today. Okay, so nice. Okay, so a couple people are just responding paid all day. Yeah, love that. Okay, free. I used free for a really long time and it was also really great. Okay, so this is your kind of interface. This is your home page. So this is where you can see tons of the designs that I'm currently working on, things, you know, that I do for agents, things that I do for Prime, even just personal use, like making birthday invitations for a kid's birthday party, like you name it, this program can do it. So I'm just going to go back a little bit and talk about folders. So here's some of the folder sections that you guys, I think you would like benefit from using. So when you go into your templates, you can just add them. I'm just going to move this here. Move this down more. Oh, sorry, got to go back here. So if you click the little icon here, you can, like the three dots, you can add all of your artworks and like folder them properly and organize them. Brand kit. So I took the liberty of making just like a super mock-up brand for myself. This is just a very simple design. I put the first two initials of my name and my last name. So it kind of, what I'm going to walk you guys through is how to give an overall grid that kind of looks like this, that has your messaging, that has some of the, you know, some of those elements of your brand. I chose something that's a little bit more clean, a little bit more crisp. And then, you know, we can kind of go into things, adding certain elements down the road as well. We'll talk about layering and things like that. So just to go back, this is kind of where you add that. So just on your sidebar here, I don't know if you guys can see that. I uploaded those 2 logos that I made, picked some colors and added some fonts. So that's a really easy way to navigate the program and continue to make it intuitive, because once you go to use these things, they'll like your fonts will automatically pop up, which is a really nice feature. And I'll show you what that means. So I'm going to start with this one. And I'm just going to drag it and put it over here, and I'm going to make a copy so I can break it down for you. So this one, you can see that the text is behind the house, and this is a layering effect. So a lot of the time agents will come to me and say, okay, can you just change the background on this house? So absolutely. What we're going to do is we're going to take this image. I just deleted everything there, and then we're just going to copy, and then I'm going to paste the house onto here. So you can see that it's backgroundless. So when you want to edit images or change the background on your house, so let's say it's like a winter day, like we have, and you want to add a blue sky, you can just hit the background remover and it takes it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a exterior picture of a house. This one will be a good one. So again, edit image, background remover. It takes a second. And then it'll get rid of the sky, and it'll essentially give you a cutout if it wants to work. There you go. So this is your front layer image. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find a sky picture here. So if you wanted something blue, or you wanted like something a little more sunset, twilight, you can go like this, size it to your artboard, let's say, and we'll go position, and you're going to send it back. So you're going to send it behind. So a lot of the time you'll get like a little bit of this here with trees and stuff like that. And so what we're going to do next is add your text. So let's say this is a new listing, just listed. Okay. So we're going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to change the font to my brand font, which is, where is she? Butler, right here. I'm going to go like this. And so now you can kind of see it coming together a little bit. I know that the other picture had a blue sky, but it was just kind of for purposes to show you guys. Okay, so you have text effects up here. So when you have your text selected, you click effects, so you have shadow, and you have the option to change some of the settings here. You have your lift effect, hollow, splice, echo, glitch, neon. You can include a background. This is a popular one that I get asked about lots, is the curve effect. So you can kind of select, oh, this isn't working. Okay, I'm just going to restart and get rid of that background. Go here, just listed effects, and we'll add that curve. So this is a cool one that I see in a lot of design trends. So when you go here, you can kind of flip it one way or the other way, and it kind of curves the listing or the text for you. So just listed, and then you can include it again, just listed, to bring that full circle all the way around. And the more you text, the smaller the font gets. So that's a cool one, and I find that one is pretty popular. So I'm gonna deselect that one, set this to 0, and we're gonna go back to trying to build out that original file. But I just think that, like, in terms of adding your brand, this is a really good way to differentiate yourself from other people. So text effects, a good one. Right now, I'm just gonna add the lift just because I think it's kind of gives it a nice little shading there. I'm going to change it to white. So just text color here, change that. And then I'm going to send it to the back. You got kind of a nice, so that now it has a little depth. So now you can kind of see, kind of looks like it's just behind the house. What I would probably do after that is maybe add my logo right here. And there you go. So a couple of the things that I like to mention to agents when they come meet with me is when they're building out templates, a couple of things that you want to think about is having different templates for different posts. So we call it like a template inventory. So what I do is I'll sit with you guys and say, okay, so for just listed, I find that normally they're a little bit busier. And when I say busier, I just mean some agents like to include information such as square footage, such as bedrooms and bathrooms. So let's say I wanted to move my logo down here and add in that info. We'll bring it up here and we'll go 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom, 1,200 square feet. Okay, and so now you can see this is starting to come together and might be something that you would use on your social channels. So just do this here. So there's a lot of different ways that you can play with these types of elements. Like I said, you have your image editor. So when I'm going back to the image, you have all of this kind of, cool things that you can play with on your side taskbar here. So you have some effects. You can, I don't know why you would pixelate this, but I mean, the options are there. This is a really cool one that I think adds a really nice element when you're working on some printed marketing as well. I use that one a ton, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like while I play with this text here. So you just this is imaging. So I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can kind of see. So we'll go edit image. We'll do, I like the drop shadow. And so anytime you click on something in Canva and you see these lines come up right here, it just means that it has further settings. So if you click this, now you have all of this, all of these things that you can play with. So it's creating shadowing down here. So you can kind of drag it out. You can angle it differently. You can increase the transparency if you want to make it like a hard shadow, or you can blur it out a little bit, which I think looks nice. So there's a lot of ways that you can apply that one as well. I'm going to keep this template, this just listed template, pretty simple and have it like this. So now what I'm going to do is I talked a little bit about resizing and repurposing content. So now that I have this, I'm not going to remake it once the property is sold. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate the image. So I'm going to go here, duplicate page, and go like this. And now we can go just sold. Now, when we're looking at things from a grid standpoint, and I'm just going to click back over to this bottom template here, this gives you an example of the different kind of templates that I mean. So like this one would be, this one would be just listed. So you kind of have your, that information that I was talking about is pretty common design trend. And then, you have your just sold here. So the thing that I like with Instagram and Facebook specifically is that you're never really married to one photo. You have the carousel option now. So an example of a carousel option would be cover pages. And I know that when you go on Instagram, it's just a swipe feature and you can see it'll show like those squares. It kind of looks something like this on Instagram. And I'm sure you guys are familiar, but we'll give a little bit of an example for those who aren't. Kind of, okay, you're gonna fight with me? Cool. Kind of just like has these boxes in the top here that just indicates that you can swipe on that image. So a market report would be a really good example to make a cover page for that. So this isn't showing up on your feed and it's not looking too busy. So when someone comes to your page or someone comes to your Facebook, there's like, okay, you're kind of organizing all of your stuff onto your Instagram. So market report, cover page would be right here. And then you're swiping Winnipeg, swipe for monthly market stats. Here you go. So these are some of the market stats that we put out in the past. And this would be like a 3-page swipe. You could also at the end, if you wanted, put your logo, give yourself a little bit of a logo plug. So you're swiping through this first page, second page, third page, fourth page. Another really good way to kind of just keep that clean feed look. Because I know a lot of the time, one of the comments that I get and common feedback that I get from agents asking is, I just don't want my feed to look super busy. I want to have a clean look. And this is a really good way to achieve that is by applying cover pages. So another good way to apply that as well with just listed is you could have something like this or something like this. And let's do one for open house. So we'll duplicate this and you could have the time here. So we could go Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll reduce the size here and we'll drag it down so it gives that dramatic effect again. So those are some of the ways that you can apply some of the extra features on Canva. I'm just going to recap again a little bit. So we'll go to this one. So for text, you have the options to add effects here. So here's your effects panel. If you want to apply something, you just click on it. The ones that give you the those settings lines there just means that the function has further settings and you can just click on it again and it'll bring you to those. I'm just gonna check this. So here's another template that I've kind of played with. So here are some other options for people who want to, they're like, okay, so you covered just sold, you covered just listed. There's a bunch of different ways that I can apply these things. What about just putting out general content and messaging? So for those who, find themselves not being too creative, I say just cheat the templates. So you have tons of templates on the side here, and you can create your own versions of these. So these are a really great resource for agents who are, finding that they have that creative block. They know what they want, they know what their messaging is, they know what their tone is, but they're like, how do I make my content look better, sound better, and just have that little bit more of a professional look? So I'm going to add, let's cruise through some of these. So coronavirus, no, we don't want to do that one. So here's one. So let's add this one on here. So this one looks pretty cool. It's a little bit masculine for my personal taste. So I'm going to make some adjustments to make it fit my brand. So this background here, when I click on it, I'm going to get rid of it because it's a little too concrete, a little too cold for me. So what I'm going to do is you have a backgrounds tab here. I'm going to add something that fits a little better. Looks like there's some kind of overlay there. I'm going to get rid of this as well. This one too. Maybe we'll just get rid of both of those. So I'm going to put my logo because I got rid of that there. I'm going to go here, grab my logo, put it here. And then I'm going to start changing the color because I changed the background, change all. The thing about Canva and what you want to always remember is it's always a layering game. So if you're finding that you're like having a really hard time clicking around, make sure you're thinking about it in a layers way. So I'm just going to make this a little bigger. Change the background there. Change the text icon. Same with this. I'll change it to white. And now you can fill some stuff in here. So this seems to, you know, match the other one that I did pretty good. So this, they have similar colors. So this one to this one. Another way to try to amalgamate some of your designs, is which I find really helpful, is using this function here. So it says all your designs. So let's say, because I had to click around to look at the other one just to see if they kind of matched, I can actually import that design into this artboard. So I just click here, go click this section. Sometimes it fights with me, sometimes it doesn't. No, okay, cool. It works probably 8 times out of 10, I'll be honest. Sometimes what it'll do, I find just like glitching on Canvas part, is you'll click the, like, this is like a 18 page design, and I'll click on the first one and then it won't give me anything. So hopefully that gets resolved soon. But again, this is using these templates and just altering them, I find, is a really good way to apply your brand and start getting a feel for things. Now, what I want to make mention of is when you're doing these is I'm going to find a good example of sub elements and main elements. So when you're building out your brand, I'm just going to take a sip of water here. You want to think about what you want as your main font, which is your primary font, your secondary font, and then your body, let's call that. I like using Open Sans as a body just because it's pretty OG in my opinion. Looks good, it reads well. And then having a sub font. So I know a lot of people like to use script. You have the option in your fonts panel to search script fonts. So I'm going to go here, and it shows you all of the cursive, which is really cool. For my serif lovers, you can go here and it comes up, like, it shows you all of the serif fonts. I personally love a serif font, so that's what I'm going to choose. No? Yes? Okay, cool. So I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to have this as my body, and then I'm going to include a sub font. So I'm going to go with something a little bit more clean this time, because I don't want to have, you want difference between your sub font and your main font. You want that to look like, have a little bit of a cleaner look. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to leave it here. Follow for more details. And it gives you kind of that look there. And that's a really good way to keep things consistent, because one of the things that I find is constantly changing your font gives your audience a little bit of a confusing message. So you want to stay consistent in your colors and in the fonts that you use. You want to apply your logo where you can. And you want to kind of remember that this is a layering game. So I know that some people have a little bit of a hard time using it. For that reason, this button here is your best friend. So if this is in front, you can move things to the back and vice versa. So that is pretty much all I wanted to go over today. I wanted to know if anybody had any comments or questions. I know that was kind of pretty much the basic overview of the program. And we can get into a little bit more of the in-depth stuff, but it kind of just gives you a little bit of food for thought on how to maximize the program. The one last thing that I wanted to go over was the content planner, actually. So if you go here, you have this just listed. So let's say you got your contract signed, you got your photos back from the photographer, and you're ready to start your marketing. This listing goes to the market on Wednesday, but you have Tuesday, you don't really got much to do today. You can schedule posts. So you have this scheduling button here. Pick the day that you want to schedule it on, pick the time, and then you hit next, write your caption, you can connect all of these social channels, and then it posts. Super easy way. It's a good way to batch content. So you can kind of, you know, a rule of thumb I like to use is just for visual purposes, you have, you know, your busy templates, your non-busy templates. You want to break it up by having information content that speaks to your brand. You don't always just want to be posting just sold and just listed. So if you have things that you're passionate about, if you have, you know, you want to post your family, you want to post your extracurriculars, or you're involved in a charity and you want to include all that stuff, these are really good ways. And using these templates here is a good option to just bring that brand through a little bit more. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brett. I know that is depending on your level of technical abilities, you know, but that was great. It really shows what Brittany does behind the scenes. And yeah, Trevor's, I see the comment, there's lots to learn. Absolutely. But that's also what Brittany does. That is her job, is to do this stuff. So your job is to sell homes, is what Brittany's job is. And I know a lot of agents have different skill sets, different interests, different passions. And so I will say, I got to give Brittany a plug, of course. If you know, again, you have two kind of options. If you like want to step up your game on social media, you want to step up your branding and have that look, those themes, those templates, you can learn how to do that on Canva. It's an amazing program to learn how to do it. The other option is to outsource, right? And to hire Brittany or somebody like Brittany, but I would highly recommend Brittany. She does a whole branding campaign. You maybe just want to touch quickly on that service offering that you do for that branding package for agents.
Yeah. So what I do is I set your brand up. So we have an initial discovery meeting. We kind of, you know, talk about things that you really like, things that you don't. You know, for new agents, sometimes they don't really know what they like. So we go through some templates and examples and things that are in the industry. And there are some agents that know exactly what they want. We set things up at Prime in Canva because, like I just showed you, it's a very intuitive platform. Sometimes it can be overwhelming for a new or a beginner user, but the more you use it, the more it starts to make sense. So the reason why we put it in there is because it's, one, user-friendly. Two, we can share designs. So that's not something that I covered today, but it's something I can cover maybe in a later meeting, is that there's a collaboration aspect to the program that is really helpful when you're working, you know, either in a team or like working with me, working on a project or a campaign. We can kind of go back and forth and, you know, apply things. We can work on something, one piece of art together in real time at two completely different locations. So we set it up in there. We do logos, social media skins. You know, we can, you know, take it all the way to listing presentations as well. Print marketing, letterhead, bus bench, billboard. You know, we can take it pretty far. It just kind of depends on where you want to start and where your marketing budget's at.
Cool. Just checking out the chats here. Awesome. So anyways, that is of course available for you guys as well. Highly recommend it. And again, I'll just give you a little round of applause. Thank you very much, Brittany, for all that wonderful content and information. Awesome. Also, you're still screen sharing. That's what's throwing me off here.
Oh.
And your screen. Perfect. There you go.
There we go.
Cool. So last but not least, again, just a few quick reminders as well about some of the training that's coming up. Again, take a look at the April 6th with the Jason Pantana. Make sure that's booked off in your calendars from 12 to 3. Make sure you register if you have any interest or thinking or any questions at all about team stuff. Make sure you check that out this Thursday, RSVP to Cassandra, and it's Thursday at 1:30. And of course, there's Royal Page, Richard Robbins training all coming your way there. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for tuning in and take care. Have a great week.